Hello, this is Heather Butts with Learn for Life Consulting. Thank you so much for being here today. And this webinar is titled Essential Strategies for Growing or Starting Your Business Today. My name is Heather Butts, and I'm joined today by Emily Nichols and Linda Cammarata. So I'm the founder of L.E.A.R.N for Life Consulting, LLC. I teach at Columbia University and St. John's University School of Law, and I have expertise in the field of online training and education, as well as business webinars and broadcasting. I'm the author of the ebook Tips for a Successful Pitfall-Free Lead-Generating Webinar, and I'm happy to be here today with you. Next, we have Emily Nichols, who's a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill. She has expertise in social media marketing, and she is a web designer as well as a professional photographer. She's also a registered yoga teacher, and we are very fortunate to have her on the webinar today. And finally, we have Linda Cammarata, who's a registered nurse and registered yoga teacher, and she's the founder of Cammarata and Associates Business Consulting. She's an international wellness retreat leader and has expertise using a common sense approach to cultivate business success. And with that, I will hand it over to Linda Cammarata.
Thank you so much, Heather, and a warm thank you for all of you joining us today. So what we hope to do is, between the three of us, is give you some common sense pointers, also some exploration in web development, in social media development, and also in the presentation of webinars and broadcast shows. So we all know that there's no one way to do a business, and there's many, many different roads to success in your business strategies. So there's a lot of things to consider as you begin to grow and start your business. There's different philosophies, there's different models and theories. And these are all important, and you might want to find one that resonates with you and makes sense to you, and then you begin to grow it from that place. Some of the things that we'd like you to consider as you begin to grow and start your business is your personality style. And historically, we tend to repeat ourselves in whatever endeavor we do. So sometimes our personality works really good in supporting those endeavors and our success in life. And other times there are little bits of our personality that we want to begin to look at and reshape so that we can be more successful, perhaps more friendly, perhaps more generous, perhaps more inclusive in our thinking. We also want to look at our personal values because our personal values definitely shape the outcome of whatever we choose to do in life, including our business approaches. So if we have values that have gotten in our way, perhaps in the past, or have been extremely supportive, we want to take time to look into our personal values, and we can always add to them. And we can always work with our previous values to shape them in a way that are more supportive in life. Our personal history, again, tends to follow us wherever we go. So if people have given you compliments on what you've done, grow that, build that. If people have given you feedback on things that you've done in the past that haven't worked so well, pay attention to that and begin to look at a variety of different ways that you can create your personal history. So what we really want to invite you to do today is to be open and expand your horizons and begin to look outside of your box or the box that others have provided for you. So there's many different ways to reach for business success. And one of the ways that often start our business ideas is with our passions. And passions are great. They're like the fire and the engine behind our ideas. At the same time, we need to use discernment with our passions so that we know we're on the right track. And some of the ways to do that is to really ground your ideas in reality. So I'll help you as we go along to look at what that really means. So we begin by narrowing down our ideas, and we look at what we're willing to nurture, what we're willing to grow, build, what we're willing to study, and most importantly in many businesses is, where's the finance coming from? Do we have that in place? And also what we're willing to develop, because starting a business is just the beginning. And then if we stay open, we can develop and grow it and move with the trends of today, which change all the time, sometimes hourly. We also want to develop a business plan, and I recommend going online and looking at your personal area that you live in or the country that you're in, and look at the support that's out there. There's lots and lots of free support for developing business plans. You can also do it yourself online, but always run it by 2 or 3 different people so that you have a sense that you're in the right ballpark with your ideas. Also look at market research. That is extremely important, because if your business ideas is in a market that's already flooded or saturated, you'll want to look at possibly developing a niche in that market. You could perhaps have the same business idea, but you'll want to have a niche, because the marketplace is a very important pulse to keep your fingers on, because it also changes pretty radically these days. And also we have to consider the economic trends that we're in. So we're going to listen to what other people, we want to invite you to listen to what other people are saying to you, and be inclusive. Include a variety of different people, different professionals, including friends, and folks that truly support you and know you. And your business location, you want to look for success in the previous businesses that may have been in that location. That's essentially important. It's like a feng shui way of building success. And do understand and take into consideration that most businesses take 2 to 5 years to fully develop. And after about 6 years, there's a higher degree of success in your business. So we have to be patient. So we're going to now talk about common sense approaches in business. And common sense is not so common because it requires one to process information with the whole of your being. And that includes your brain, the way you work with your left and right brain processes, the heart, how you feel or communicate with your heart, the gut. The gut often will give you information that can help to shape your reality in your business. And your intuition, that voice inside of yourself that says, yeah, go for this, or no, I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do something else with my business. So there are ways to develop common sense, though, and one of the ways is to practice mindfulness. And there's lots and lots of information online about mindfulness. And mindfulness is really a practice of being present to the moment in every moment of your life. And to do that with acceptance and an openness and a way of being more flexible with your thinking so that you don't miss things as they come along, that you're more inclusive in your way of dealing with your business. So it's a more integrative approach to problem solving. So common sense and the practice of mindfulness can lead you to that, and it helps you to problem solve in a more effective way. It creates observation, an observing mind. It helps you to manage your thoughts and emotions. And mindfulness helps you to be patient and non-judgmental. It also helps you to cultivate a curious mind. And a curious mind is a keen mind, a mind that keeps looking in the corners of our life and our business that otherwise may go untouched. It also helps you to build trust, cultivate gentleness, friendliness, compassion, helps you to be open, develop clarity, concentration, focus, resilient energy. There's nothing better than cultivating resiliency. It also helps you to maintain deep relaxation because in the practice of mindfulness in developing common sense, we're more apt to accept what is and not continue to struggle upstream like a salmon getting nicked along the way. It helps you to view challenges as opportunities to learn and grow And you begin to see the things you're attached to, or you feel that it's the way, your way, as opportunities for reshaping your ideas. So I can't encourage you enough to practice mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness meditation is a great taproot to start with, but you can also practice mindfulness just in your everyday life by cultivating all these resources for you. So the resources is to remain open to support, to adjust your willingness, to look at your business ideas, your direction, and your approaches, and to continue to build your resources through your physical and mental health and well-being, your financial support and emotional and physical safety. That will help you. If you have a sense of being financially supported, you're going to feel more safe in your business ideas and your risk taking. To be collaborative in your strategic partnerships, so really look at who else you can partner with, like the three of us are doing this morning, and build your business with other people in that pool of resources. Help each other out. Listen to your body. Make sure your decisions feel right in your gut again, and build the value, the resource value, your personal value of generosity and friendliness. These are great resources. And now I'm going to turn this aspect of our webinar over to Emily Nichols, who's really an expert in developing social media platforms. Here you go.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you also to Heather for having us here today, and thank you all for joining us. I would like to talk to you today about how you can build a social media platform starting today, and also how you can use these principles to reevaluate your current platform and make improvements if you already have a platform that you're using. So the 3 principles for developing a social media platform is first, to choose the right social media platform. Second, develop interesting content. And last, integrate with the whole of your business. Now we're going to take a look at each of these in more detail and break it down so that you can make sense of where your business can start today. So first, when choosing the right social media platform, it's important that you take the time to research what's available. So this means what platforms are out there and what other businesses are using. So you can really take a look around at similar businesses and use them as an indicator of where your demographic and market are responding to and using social media. So there are many platforms available, over hundreds really, and we're just going to talk about Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest today. So Facebook is a social arena. It would be some place for you to advertise if you're an entertainer, maybe a teacher. It's a place where clients want to interact with you in a fun and engaging way. LinkedIn, on the other hand, would be a place to go if you offer business consulting or professional services. This is because clients there want career development, they want networking, and to develop job skills. And finally, if you're an arts person, you make jewelry or clothing or have a visual product, then I would recommend that you would use Pinterest, which is an online visual marketplace that you can really showcase your brand. So once that you've chosen the platform that's going to be best for you, the next step is to develop interesting content. And the content is really the core, the what that you are presenting and sharing with your audience. And this is where most of my clients find trouble. They've either started a platform and they don't know where to go with it, or they're beginning now, and it's really important to take this time in the beginning to really develop what you want to share, to develop it with quality. And so I encourage my clients to check out what I call the 30-30-30-10 rule. And this is just a way to break down how you create content. So the first 30% is about promoting yourself. So if you're a yoga teacher, for example, this would be through events and workshops that you're leading, or even your daily schedule of classes. Then the next 30% should be focused on promoting others. So this would be community partners or sister businesses. As a yoga teacher, you may think, massage therapists, or local restaurants and retreat centers that you'll be partnering with in the future. And then the last 30% is a chance for you to be educational, providing useful information. If you're a yoga teacher, this may be through book suggestions or research on nutrition, alignment techniques, even psychology. It's a way to give your audience something educational they can really integrate into their whole own lives. And the last 10% of the 30-30-10 rule is a chance for you to be engaging and spontaneous. You can ask questions to your audience, share recipes, and really be personable with the online community that you've built. Once you have all your content and you have your platform, the last key step is really to integrate with the whole of your business. So this means aspects of your business that you're already using, such as a newsletter, a website. You can even implement social media into your email signature. And you do this through small linkable buttons, which are icons that will take people directly to your social media page when they click on your icon. But apart from where you can place social media into the things that you've already started for your business, you can also think of how social media can creatively take your business forward. So contests and giveaways through social media are actually a way to increase participation in your online community by bringing the people that you're interacting with daily onto your social media platform. So social media is a trend that, as Linda said, is ever-changing, but is definitely here to stay for our lifetimes at least. So I would definitely recommend you to use the 3 principles to develop a social media platform or reevaluate your current platform to really reach for greater success in your business. Social media is a true opportunity to expand your business potential with its new resources and new clients. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to Heather Butts, who will provide her expertise on legal guidance, webinars, and radio shows.
Thank you so much, Emily. So I'm going to talk first about planning ahead for unusual circumstances. And with respect to this, the key point is preparation. You can't always know what's going to happen in the future, but you can plan for unusual circumstances. You need to make sure that you have a contingency plan or multiple contingency plans in place before you start your business. And this goes squarely to the point that Linda Cammarata was making about having a business plan. You have to have a business plan, and within that, you have to plan for circumstances that are somewhat out of the ordinary of what you would normally expect for your business plan. That goes along with ensuring that your business is set up properly. So determining what sort of process you have in place for setting up your business and what the structure will be, whether or not it's an LLC or a sole proprietorship or some other structure, is key to being able to plan ahead for such unusual circumstances. Additionally, you need to be aware of copyright laws, especially if you're in a space where you're going to be utilizing other individuals' materials or others may want to use your materials. And you also need to be aware of local ordinances and licensing issues. This particularly comes into play, for example, if you're running a restaurant and, for example, there are certain licensing laws that you need to know vis-a-vis health laws and liquor licensing laws. You want to make sure that you know this ahead of time so then if a circumstance comes up where you have problems down the road, you will be prepared for them. And finally, you need to be prepared for the changing circumstances and needs of your clients. So as your business grows and as you grow, so too will the needs and wishes of your clients. You need to be prepared for that and need to plan for that in the event that their needs change and your needs change because of that. Next, recipe for successful internet radio show. So I actually have an internet radio show. I have a channel, and it's been very successful, and I've been able to highlight a lot of really wonderful individuals, including someone like Linda Cammarata. I highly recommend having an internet radio show or at least being a part of someone else's channel. So the first thing you need to do is you need to decide whether or not you want to start your own channel or whether or not you want to be a periodic guest or a regular host on someone else's channel. And this is very easy to do. This goes to the second point about determining the platform that you're going to use. I use Blog Talk Radio. There are lots of really great platforms out there that you can use for a radio show. And so what you need to decide is whether or not you want to start your own channel or whether or not you'd like to be a guest, and then what platform you're going to use based on that. And there's lots of ways you can find out about other individual shows. You can go onto the channels and do a search and see who's doing what in your area of expertise, and then contact hosts. I can tell you from personal experience that I'm always looking for guests to be on my show, and most individuals who have a radio show channel are doing the same. They'd be very happy to hear from you about your interest in being on their show. Next, you'll need to make a list of topics that you would like to cover on your show and how those topics are related to each other. You want to have a theme, essentially. So in the restaurant example that I used before, obviously if you're a restaurateur and you want to have a radio show, you probably don't want to start talking about horticulture unless that has some relevance to your restaurant business. You want to make sure that the shows are themed and that if you do have guests or a guest host on your channel, that everybody understands what that theme is and their topic plays into that theme. So that's very, very critical. The theme on my show was wellness and healthcare and education, and so when I have individuals on, those are the topics that we talk about. Also, you want to determine how long you want your show to be and how often you want the show to run. So the key to this buys into the last point, which is consistency. You want to make sure that you're consistent. So whether or not your show is once a month for 15 minutes or once a week for an hour, you want to make sure that you stay to that schedule, that you're consistent, and that you do it on a regular basis so that your audience knows when to find you. This is critical because in order to develop an audience, you want to make sure that the audience actually knows where you are. And then finally, you want to dive in and have fun. So obviously, a radio show may not be for everyone, and much of what we're talking about today is going to be a little bit of trial and error. You're going to try certain things, and they'll work for you and your business, and other things may not work. So you want to try this radio show if you think it's something that would be interesting. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. You can try something else, but you definitely want to make sure that it's something that you're enjoying because you're going to have to be consistent with it. And as Emily was talking about, with respect to social media, you're going to want to involve social media into your marketing strategy with your radio show. So if you're not really enjoying it, it's probably not a great space for you. All right, and finally, effectively utilizing webinars. So the most important thing to think about this is content. Do you have enough content for a webinar? So that goes hand in hand with this notion of support. Now, I'm going to talk just for a couple of minutes about this issue of support. And when we think about support, you want to think about the webinar timeline. So a webinar timeline is a step-by-step roadmap for running a webinar 8 weeks prior to the webinar to 2 weeks post-webinar. Following the timeline will greatly increase the likelihood that you have strong attendance at your webinar and that those present will be engaged, and the presentation will essentially describe your product or services. It is critical that you ensure that your webinar is one that is focused and concise and answers the precise issues or potential customers will have. If your webinar doesn't do this, then it's likely that individuals on the webinar will either tune out completely or be marginally engaged, and that really defeats the purpose of the webinar. So the important tip here is one of webinar roles. So what you want to do is you essentially want to have 5 basic roles of a webinar. They're the producer, the star, the marketer, the content provider, and the audience. Now, I know some of you are thinking, I run a small business. I can't have a whole bunch of different people involved in my webinar. However, there's a couple of roles that you really need to make sure that you have in place in order to make sure that your webinar is successful. So the producer is probably the most important role next to the presenter. And the producer is sometimes called the moderator. And though the moderator rarely performs all the tasks that the producer performs, the producer is the technical expert on the webinar. The producer will decide what webinar platform to use. They will ensure the webinar runs smoothly with as few technical difficulties as possible. They will field and triage questions from the audience either in the form of a chat or the phone conferencing. And the producer oversees the real-time recording of the webinar as well as reviewing the chat to ensure audience issues such as inability to hear the audio or see slides are dealt with. They will also do the post-production editing of the webinar. The producer is the person who has to deal with any of the technical headaches, especially when something goes wrong, and they also will be the person that quickly fixes any of the webinar issues to make sure that it's fairly seamless. Ideally, the producer is the person who's prepared for technical difficulties, and they shouldn't be caught surprised by any problems. So if you're looking for somebody to fulfill that producer role, then you really want to have a conversation with them about what kind of technical difficulties that they've seen, and also that they should have sort of a general working knowledge of how to deal with those problems. Next up is the role of the presenter. And the presenter and the producer roles are the two that we pretty much think about when we think about webinars. This is the person who's going to tell the story about the webinar and promote whatever product or services that you have. And it may actually, be you as the business owner who is the presenter, since you know the most about your services or business. If you're concerned about, issues regarding the speed of, the internet for the webinar, for example, or something having to do with microphones working, that is not your purview as a presenter. And that would tell you more than anything that you probably need somebody in the producer role, because when you're doing the webinar as a presenter, you really cannot be concerned with issues such as the technical difficulties and so forth. You need to be focused on the content and what you're presenting. Next is the audience. So the audience basically needs to be fully engaged, and you need to have an audience present. When you're doing practice webinars, if possible, especially if you're doing multiple practices, it's very nice to have a small audience that can listen to how the webinar is going and give you tips about audio and the presentation and so forth. The audience should ask questions if possible, and you should be able to follow up with the audience with giving them contact information. Content managers are our next role. This person usually is also the presenter, but it doesn't have to be. Oftentimes, if you can get somebody to do this role, it's a copy editor or writer, and they're going to deal with information in the PowerPoint and on the slides. They're also responsible for any fact-checking if necessary. And for example, if you're going to do a presentation that's historically based, they would be the one that would make sure that your facts are in order. They also do spell checking and so forth. So again, you could see how this role and the presenter role could be combined quite easily. And then finally, marketing. Marketing along with the producer role are usually the roles that give people the most anxiety. The marketer needs to do their research with respect to who your audience is, and they need to have conversations with you in whatever role you're going to be fulfilling to make sure that you understand how to interface with them. And much as what Emily was talking about with respect to social media, they need to understand what space your audience resides in and act accordingly with respect to social media and making sure that the marketing works for your particular audience. And one size definitely does not fit all with respect to marketing for webinars. Just a couple of final points with respect to running a webinar. You need to make sure that you're comfortable with online education, so it's very important to ensure that you are comfortable in that space. You also need to make sure that you have enough time to run multiple practices. If you don't, then running a webinar may not be for you. Probably at least 4 practices would be sufficient for webinars. And then finally, as I stated earlier, you need to be able to integrate social media. So that's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Emily mentioned Pinterest. That's probably a great space for you, especially depending on your business. They all need to be integrated into the marketing strategy for a webinar. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Linda Cammarata.
Thank you so much. That's just great information for our listeners. And again, we want to thank everyone for joining us. And please know that this is a pre-recorded webinar, and we've listed our contact information in the chat area. We will also provide a slide after I discuss the services we provide. And you're welcome to email any of us or phone with any questions, needs, or inquiries. So the services that we provide are comprehensive business analysis with collaborative strategies, website review and design, social media development, a very important revenue building strategies. That's very important for all of our businesses, individualized business tools for success, coaching. We also offer accounting and bookkeeping services. We have an excellent accountant who can address anyone's need throughout the United States. And educational webinar and media marketing and photography to showcase and market your business, and that's Emily Nichols' work, and she's excellent. So this is our contact information, and please feel free to contact us at any point if you have the desire to do that. We welcome any questions or comments. And again, we thank you for joining Essential Strategies for Growing or Starting Your Business today with Heather Butts, Emily Nichols, and myself, Linda Cammarata. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.